This is a perfect follow-on from my last video. So if you watched it, I spoke about the past is in the past. You can't predict the future. All you can do is live for the now. And it was very early on in my journey, my self-care journey, where I was reading a Mo Gawdat book and a few simple words stood out to me on a page. And it literally read, "Learn to die before you die." And I read it over and over again and I absorbed it. And for me, it was powerful. For me, it hit me. It was like another take on the try and live every day as if it's your last. But the way it was worded, for whatever reason, just resonated with me. And it was so true. It's it's such a standard thing for us to just go by with our lives. You know, we're very routine, we're like creatures of habit, and a lot of us like to live in a manner that society tells us you have to live. And I'm sure a lot of you would have experienced this as well, but you kind of go by life and then you kind of look back on the last 3 months, 6 months, and you go, geez, where's time gone? I don't really have too much to show for the last 6 months. All I've done is worked, or all I've done is stayed at home and looked after the kids, and I've not really got much fulfillment or sense of purpose from the last few months. And I think that's very common. It's very normal. It is what it is. It's just how we are as humans. But learning to die before you die and taking that today could be my last day approach is an incredible thing and an incredible tool to have as part of your journey if you can kind of make it work. So I'm not sat here saying that for 1 minute I'm perfect and I'm on this absolute journey of perfection. I'm really not. All I do is I try and incorporate as much as I can that I learn into my day-to-day life, and within reason and to a degree where I know I can kind of continue with it or commit to, so to speak. So I can't get up every day going, today's going to be my last day maybe, so I'm going to have the best life ever. Like it can't work like that, but I can make today the best day that I have, given the circumstances. If I go into work, I can still, with the people around me, the people that I work with, I can still make sure I have the best day possible given the circumstances. But it's a case of, I mentioned in the last video about my mum and dad, 60 years old they were when they started living their best life, and they decided to live their best life after the back of a terminal diagnosis. So how many people do you know of that wait for some, God forbid, really bad news and a terminal illness to go, shit, I better go and live my life. Like, life's too short. We all have that reminder of, wow, life's too short. And don't get me wrong, my parents had the most phenomenal couple of years. They travelled the world. They kind of ticked off as much as they could from their bucket list in a very short space of time. And I was full of admiration and they were so inspiring. But I didn't want to wait till I was 60 years old to start living my best life. I had to learn how to die before I died very early on to kind of be a catalyst to my journey and my self-care and personal development journey. So it was powerful. I didn't want to wait till I was 60 to start living my best life based on some bad news. At the time, I was in my late 20s, like perfect time to live my best life. And I'd like to think I incorporated the learn to die before you die, because I had at least 1 year where I was just constantly going away. I was traveling and I went all over the world, had the most phenomenal trip to the Cayman Islands, into New York, into Spain, into Amsterdam, and all over. I think I went away 15, 20 times. It was insane. It was incredible. And I managed to juggle it whilst having a full-time job and other responsibilities. But again, if you really want something, then you'll make time for it, you'll make it work. And it was arguably one of the best things I did. And it also helped me get through that trauma of obviously the illness, the terminal diagnosis, because I was getting so much fulfillment with everything that I was doing in my life that the positive was far outweighing the negative. So I was maintaining a very good, say, mental, stable level. So I recommend this to anyone. Like, I know you can't live your best day every single day. And I know finances play a big part, work will play a big part. You might have a fear of flying, you might not be able to do all the things that you want to do. But there is absolutely no harm in you waking up in the morning and having a strong appreciation for life. You doesn't cost anything to look around you in your day-to-day life, whether it's in your house, whether it's outside your house, whether it's on the journey to work. Just take note of the small things. Have a look at the trees and how green the leaves might be, or how tall they might be, or be thankful that we have roads, albeit probably loads of potholes, but we have roads that make anywhere accessible to us. You know, look at the buildings, look at the structures, look at the architecture. Think of the history behind the certain things that you might see. Like sometimes now I'll pass a massive tree and it looks old, and I'll think, I wonder how old that tree is and how special that tree could be 100 years old. That survived 100 years and it still stands tall. And it's just such powerful reminders about how incredible life is, because the minute you can appreciate the smaller things in life, the more amazing your sort of life will become, because you're just full of appreciation. And when you've got that feeling and that emotion of appreciation, joy and happiness, your actual mental stability is just constantly riding a high, and you will go to bed excited for the next day. So any advice I can pass on to anyone, try to just incorporate the learn to die before you die. Constantly remind yourself that life is so short. Life can be amazing. Life can be just incredibly tough and hard, and I get it. Just know that any bad times, they will pass. And also be aware that the good times, that they will pass too. So just try and live your best possible life. My best possible life is just filling my days with things that make me happy. And that's the best way that I do it, because I don't put any pressure on myself of I've got to go on a safari and I've got to travel the world and I've got to go to Thailand and I've got to go and see the Antarctic and go to the Amazon, because I know a lot of this isn't doable for me, because I actually, believe it or not, have a fear of flying and a struggle flying long distance. So I'm well aware that those dreams aren't going to happen anytime soon. I'm not saying they're not going to happen, because again, if I really want to do it, I'll make sure I do it somehow. But just there's no harm in filling your days with joy. So even today, what we on a Sunday afternoon, not done a great deal just yet, but just making this video is bringing joy to me. I'm already feeling great for doing it. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you take something out of it. And this sort of concept, you know, might not take, or adapting the learn to die before you die concepts, it might not work for everyone, but if it worked for me, I'd like to think it can work for anyone. So thank you for watching.